Okay, well, let's get started with our webinar today. Are you ready, Julie?
I'm ready.
Okay, welcome to Real Expert. This month's topic is 5 winning strategies for new licensees. My name is Michelle Auger, and I'm a guest host today. I'm a regional real estate education manager for Kaplan, and I'm responsible for licensing and continuing education across a number of states for Kaplan. This is a near and dear topic to my heart. I work with new licensees and those who are earning their pre-licensing education and fulfilling that with us. And Julie is also a critical part of that. Julie Olson is our expert today, and I'll tell you a little bit more about her. She and I have actually worked closely for many years, especially in the pre-licensing area, where we are helping students not only complete their education, but also really lay the groundwork for their career in real estate. Welcome today, Julie. I'm going to introduce you here formally. I'll put us over on the screen. Your contact information is listed on the screen here now. We'll also show this again at the end of the webinar today.
Michelle, do you want me to put my phone number in there for texting?
You could chat it. If you'd like to chat that in, you certainly can. Sure, you go ahead, and I'll introduce you while you're doing that, Julie. So Julie Olson is licensed in real estate. She has been for over 35 years. She's also a Minnesota real estate broker. She owns an LFRO, and that's a limited function referral organization, listing and selling real estate for a living. She's an experienced sales manager. Julie has also consulted for over 40 brokerages and has coached hundreds of agents. Additionally, she's managed one of the largest branch offices in Minneapolis, Minnesota for 5 years. They average about 4,500 transactions yearly. She has also managed and successfully built over a dozen offices. Julie's work at Kaplan includes professional development via the Accelerator Seminar program that we actually encourage new licensees to take after they've become licensed or within the first few years. It's a seminar, which is a workshop as well as a coaching program. She does continuing education instruction with us, broker licensing, pre-licensing education, and is also the lead of our weekly career mentor webinars. It's a once-a-week webinar for those students currently involved in pre-licensing classes with us, both on demand as well as live online. Julie shares her extensive experience and knowledge and also her passion very generously with both new and experienced professionals. I've witnessed firsthand Julie's knack to identify the saleable skills of an individual and to coach them, as well as provide resources on leveraging their own talents and their previous experience. And that will come into play today as she shares with us some of the really critical elements and really specific strategies for new licensees, as well as, again, sharing this to return us to the fundamentals for maybe some of us who have been in real estate longer than, a year or 3 or 4 years. So welcome, Julie.
Thanks, Michelle. Glad to be here. And I do recognize some of the names on the list here of people who have been through some of our career mentor webinars. So glad to see you guys. Hope you're doing well. Be sure to keep in touch with me. I love to hear how you're doing. And you can never have too many friends, right? So, yeah. Glad to be here.
Well, Julie, we really appreciate you taking this opportunity to do this. And actually what we've learned in the last, year and a half or so since we've been doing these monthly webinars is that there's a lot of people who are just about to become licensed and also who are newly licensed who are really interested in all of our topics. And so we thought, well, let's craft one that's a little bit even more specific to this group. But as we start today, we wanted to ask who's participating with us and who's in our audience. So again, maybe we can direct our comments more specifically. So we're going to run a poll right now for you to participate in. I'll put it up here on the screen for you. And you will see it, and you will be able to select one of the responses. So this is asking you, How long have you been a licensed real estate agent? Not yet licensed, less than a year, 2 to 4 years, or 5 or more years. Looks like many of you have been in our webinars before, our classes, and you know how these polls work. Julie, you can see the results coming in.
I can. Yep.
Looks like it's kind of settling down now, where most people have lodged their answer. It looks like we're at about 39 or 40% are yet to be licensed. Another 32% are less than a year, and then split over the next 2 to 4 years or 5 or more, about 15, 16% each as well. So good information for us to have today, so we can, again, better address our audience. We also invite you to chat in questions as Julie shares with us her winning strategies, and then we will address as many of those as possible during this particular webinar. And then again, provide that contact information for you at the end, so you can reach out to Julie if we don't get every question answered. But one of the most compelling things we want to talk about today is what really are the specific skills and competencies, as well as practices, that a licensee need to have and to practice to be effective and succeed in the real estate business.
Perfect. Great. And I also wanted to congratulate Martha. I don't know if you guys saw on the chat box, but she just passed her test yesterday. Yeehaw. That's always, now the fun begins, right? Yes. Once you get done with that test, that's when the fun begins. So I want to encourage you guys, if you would like to come to the Career Mentor webinars, they're 6 to 7 p.m. every Monday night Central Time, and we talk about all the things that aren't in the coursework, like how do you hold an open house, how do you prospect, what does the seller want, what's the current market conditions, what do we how do you identify your niche, how do you write a professional profile. So I think you might want to tune into that. And then for those of you who have been in the business for more than a year, if you have any comments or any tips for the people, because we're primarily, a lot of people are 1 year or less or not licensed, put any tips down there. I'm sure that if you've learned something over the last 2 to 5 years that you'd want to share with them, you would have appreciated knowing that ahead of time, right? So feel free to participate that way. So, okay, so we have a lot of things to cover, and I'm going to cover as much as we can. So one of the questions that Michelle wanted me to address is, what skills or competencies or practices does a licensee need to be effective in the real estate market? So you might want to write these down, okay? There's 4 things to help you be successful. The first one is you want to identify a niche, or ideally 4 different niches that you're going to work on, that you want to specialize in, based on your background, based on the experience that you've had, based on who you want to work with, and based on who you don't want to work with, right? Because everything you do, all your message marketing, is going to be geared toward your niche markets. And the reason that we do this is because what you want to do is target market and have a message out there to exactly who you want to work with. So a message out there, or the wording or language that you use, is going to be very different between a first-time home buyer, as well as maybe a downsizer or a retiree. So if you're trying to build a referral network, you want to be sure that you have the information and the resources available specifically to them. It also helps them refer business to you. Because Michelle, if I said to you, if you said to me, right, I'm looking for a real estate agent, and I said, you should call Denise. She's really a great gal, right? Do you think you would call her?
I'd probably want to know more about her.
Yeah. But if I said to you, you should call Denise. She works with first-time home buyers, and she was just telling me about a zero down conventional program for first-time home buyers. Well, that would pique their interest. So you have to be giving more specific information. People are looking for more of a specialist and more of an expert rather than a generalist. Okay.
That's a good point.
Adriana wanted to know if the Monday webinars cost money. Nope, it is included in your tuition. So you're already covered. You're already paying for it, so you should come. So, okay, so the foundation is going to be your niche. From there, we move into, well, let me go through the 4. Okay, you've got your niche. You've got a business-to-business network to help you be successful. You have to have a good prospecting system, and you need to have support. What kind of support do you need? So those are the 4 things we're going to talk about. So I just talked about the niche. And then from your niche, that is the base for your business. Think about who you want to work with. Now, keep in mind that your business is going to come from where you show up and from where you've been. So where are you showing up? If you go to a lot of your kids' activities and maybe your kids play soccer, your business is going to come from the soccer team, isn't it? What kind of interesting things could you offer to those people? So based on that, the next thing that you work on to get referrals is going to be your business to business network. Now, for those of you who haven't gotten involved in business to business networking yet, because you're still new in the business or you're getting licensed, this is something you can start working on now. Your business to business network is something your clients expect you to have. For example, if you are going out for a listing and you tell a seller, you need to paint this, you need to get the weeds out of the front lawn, you need to get this property staged, we're going to have professional photographs. Their first question is going to be, well, who do you know, right? That is a big part of our job, is providing these people's plumbers. It could be plumbers, electricians, stagers, photographers, insurance people, loan officers, inspectors. And we hand out anywhere from 5 to 8 referrals on every single transaction. And our clients expect us to have that. So your business to business network is something you can start building now. And what that business to business network does is it becomes your primary referral source.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's a very interesting concept. So oftentimes I think when we first get into real estate, it's like, well, who do I know? And you tapped into something very important. It's where did we come from? What was our background? Most of us have had other careers even before we get into real estate. So maybe, those are the avenues we start to look at, our contacts and those people where we've worked and where we lived our lives, and bring those experiences into it. Earlier when we were talking about this, before we began, you were talking about being new as an asset. And I'd like you to speak to that, because that just really caught my attention, because sometimes when we're new or we're making a profession change, and we're just getting into something, we're a little bit cautious about telling people we're new. And I think that your opinion on this and your perspective on this is really insightful for new people getting into the business. Can you share that, Julie?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'll answer a couple of your questions here as they relate to this. So I run into this all the time, and I've hired a lot of people and trained a lot of people. And here's what I found. Right now in the real estate, as you're going into real estate, you are in a very unique position you are still looking at real estate as a consumer, okay? And that's very valuable to your consumer. It won't be very long before you start thinking like a realtor. So you want to leverage that right now. Think like a consumer. And if you can always continue that, that would be great. The other thing is, if you think about the average age of a realtor or real estate agent is 58 years old. The average age of a broker is 62 years old. Does anybody want to guess in the chat box what the average age of a buyer is? What do you think that is? Do you think there's a little bit of a gap there?
Yeah, I imagine there's quite a large one.
Yeah. So what happens is you might feel, I guess the word would be intimidated. If you went up against someone who had a lot of experience for a listing, for example, and you felt like, well, what do I have to offer? Well, here's the answer that you give them. Yeah, 24, 28, yep, right around 30 is our buyer. So if you went up against someone who had a lot of experience, here's the answer that you give them. I may not be an expert in the way real estate was 20 years ago, but I'm an absolute expert on how business is done today. And it is totally different than it was a couple of years ago. That is your number one best selling feature is that, or highlight that you have to offer is that you're new. So never downplay that. It's like there's a lot of your competition out there, and a lot of them are my friends, right? So I'm not making fun of them. I'm just telling you the way it is in the marketplace is they're waiting for the market to go back to the way it was. Does anybody think the market's going to go back to the way it was? So
no,
yeah, that business is there for the taking. It is absolutely there for the taking. Okay, let me see if I can get some of these questions.
Okay.
I'm not seeing them for some reason.
They'll pop up as they come in, Julie. I'd like to talk a little bit about this. You already talked a little bit about the niche, but you're talking about now you have people who have fresh eyes. Doesn't matter the age that you are coming into this, but you have really a fresh perspective when you're newly licensed. And so that gives you that advantage to be able to just see things differently. And again, from a buyer position, a consumer position, because you haven't been dyed in the trade, dyed in the wool, sort of a real estate professional. So you get to be that later. But right now you bring that fresh pair of eyes. So I would think that, looking at some of those new buyer or first time home buyer, audiences as a niche would also really set you up to succeed because, you're learning, they're learning, and imparting that, that information and that experience in a new buyer niche, I think would be very valuable as well and be seen as a fresh look.
Yes. And so a lot of times people come into real estate because maybe they had an experience with a real estate agent and felt that they could do a better job. A lot of you probably came in because of that. Utilize that experience. Maybe you were a seller and you wished some things would have been different, or there are certain things that you really like. It's a very short period of time that you are going to be thinking like a consumer. And Lisa Piche, I see you're here. She's very experienced and totally understands that. As a matter of fact, when we were talking about, do you think real estate's going to go back to the way it was? And Lisa says, please no. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very exciting out there right now. There's a lot of opportunity, particularly for new people. Jennifer, okay, just saw that. Dante Raynar wanted to know, what should you highlight in your resume when coming into real estate from another career when you're trying to land a job at an agency? Great question. Okay, so I'll touch on that briefly. One of the things we talk about at the Career Mentor webinar is one night we talk about your professional profile and what needs to be in there. And here is what people are looking for. Keep in mind, they assume you are experienced. They assume if you are licensed, you understand purchase agreements and contracts and how to show houses and so on and so forth. So what they're looking for when you put your professional profile out there, which goes on Zillow and Realtor.com and your broker website, is 5 things. One is your background. They're interested in having something in common. What is your background? That makes you unique in the marketplace. The next is experience. What kind of work experience do you have? All the experience and all your background is going to make you the real estate agent that you are. You have to figure out what you're selling. So that's the second thing. The third thing is, what's your business philosophy? You will attract people who have the same business values you do. So it's a one-line, what's your business philosophy? It can be things like, I always work in the best interest of my client. I want to help you make an educated decision. Michelle, can you think of anything else? I practice the golden rule.
Right. My clients always come first,
Right.
Yes. Educating and informing my clients is number one priority, helping them make the best decision for themselves. Yeah, whatever that vision is for yourself that you can promote out there, that certainly is an attractor. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of them. Do you have a couple more that you?
Yes. And then the other 2 are what your specialties, what your niches are.
Mm-hmm.
So like say if you had a background in buying duplexes, for example, and you've done some investment real estate and you want to build your portfolio and so on and so forth. And then you write down your experience and then your philosophy. And then after that, you talk about your niches, what you specialize in. It could be a neighborhood, it could be investors, it could be a demographic group, it could be first-time home buyers, it could be newlyweds, whoever you want to work with. You put 4 of those down there. And then the last thing that you put on there is call me if you need ... which would mean call me if you need someone who is looking out for your best interests. Call me if you need someone who understands horses and ranches, whatever's unique to you. Call me if you need information on the 284 school district. Give them reasons to call you and your contact information. It's a very short, keep in mind, people don't read, right? But they expect you to be out there. And if they're interested in you, they're going to read a little bit about you and take it from there.
So Julie, one thing, I think those are all great strategies to start to embark on and to really delve into in depth. But one thing that was chatted in the chat box here by one participant is the word trust. And you spoke to this a little bit earlier. And, what I found in real estate in my years of selling especially is that I need to have a solid, competent knowledge base, but it's really a relationship business. And that it's the relationships you cultivate, those people that, again, like you're saying, you are attracted to you and you're attracted to them because you have similar, business philosophies or approaches, communication styles. Again, we talk about this so much that, learning how to be good listeners as well as, communicators is important, but finding that mutual ground is really an important part of that when you're starting out, especially. But the relationship business is so important. I want to talk a little bit about your approach to prospecting, because I think initially, this is one thing that we just keep hearing again and again as a future licensee or as a new licensee. And I don't think anyone ever feels like they're doing it right. But if you could give us a couple tips, that would be great. I know you have some good ones.
Yeah, I do. I have a really good prospecting system, and a group of us experienced agents have been doing this for about a year, and it's super easy. In real estate, you need to have systems, right? because your enemy can be time, right? And you can spend a lot of time doing things, and it turns out slow. But this is called the 1 through 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 prospecting system. And it's easy to do, and it's fun, believe it or not, to prospect, because all you're doing is connecting with people in a lot of different ways. And so if you do this 2 or 3 times a week, you will be successful, because you're connecting with people. You're reaching out to people. You're saying hello to people. You are bringing people back out into civilization after the rough year we've had. Some people don't know how to get involved again. So it's not like you're calling them and saying, hey, Michelle, you want to list and sell your house today? Now we're in the near future. No, you're calling to say hello, right? Or, okay, so this prospecting system takes 30 to 40 minutes. So it isn't a huge time commitment where you feel like you have to sit down for 3 hours in an afternoon and make 400 phone calls. Who's going to do that? I'm not going to do that. I'll find other things to do. I'll take my dog for a walk. So here's what you do. It's called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You do one handwritten note. That's the thing that takes the most time. You do one handwritten note, drop it in the mail to somebody. People love it. And it can just say, hi, I was just thinking about you. Hi, remember it was this year, this time last year that you closed on your house. Doesn't matter. You're reaching out and communicating. They just have to know that you're there. The second one is 2 social media posts. And it should be sort of geared towards your niche. If it's first-time home buyers, maybe it's on a new home buyer program. If it's downsizing, how much space do you need? You know, that kind of thing. Number 3 is 3 text messages. How long does that take? And it doesn't matter who you send them to, because everyone is a referral source. That's what you're building. The fourth one is 4 emails. It could be sending people an article. It could be just about anything. 4 emails. How long does that take? And the last one is 5 phone calls. And maybe 2 out of 5 will pick up. So how long does that take? And so what happens is, with that kind of a prospecting system, you have variety. It's quick. It's effective. And you are hitting all different types of communication. So it works really well. Now, for those of you who aren't in real estate, maybe a good way for you to prospect right now would be trying to get your referral network, your business-to-business network. So if you were going to do a social media post, maybe you put something out there saying, I'm looking for an insurance person, or I'm looking for a loan officer that I can refer my real estate clients to. What does that do? That tells them that, oh, they're in real estate, not, hi, I'm Julie. I just got licensed, and will you be my guinea pig, right? Mm-hmm. You are saying, I have a real estate business and I need some referrals from you to find good professionals to help my clients. You're asking for nothing. You are helping them out. Jean wanted me to repeat 2 again. 2 is 2 social media posts. It can be LinkedIn. It could be, whatever you want. That's a prospecting system. Do you guys think you could do that prospecting system? If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Julie, I think you make it about as simple as possible. And again, that variety, and then you're hitting all kinds of different, formats for, it's not just the way you prefer to be communicated with, but you're hitting, all the other variety of styles that, it's throwing that net as widely as you can. And I have just a couple more things I want to ask you. I know these 30 minutes go so terribly fast. Yeah. And I think you've covered some really key pieces, but I'd like to ask you, for a lot of people starting out, they first start out in the business, and they might, after they've selected a broker, they might look to that broker for some education. And many brokers have education plans set up for them and stuff, but and they're formal or informal. But, what are the benefits that you would recommend, or maybe some recommendations around having a mentor or coach as you start out? And what can they provide that maybe just other formal education and other traditional ones might not be able to?
Yeah, good question. So, your first year in real estate is all about your training and feeling competent and comfortable. And you're never going to know everything. You can be in the business 40 years and you learn something every day. Sometimes it's not that much fun of what you learn, but you do learn every day. So there's a difference between a training program and a mentor and support system. So I want you to focus on a support system. So what you're going to need your first few years in real estate is that safety net of who do I call if I have a quick question at 6 o'clock on a Friday night or 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning, right? So, Michelle, you want to share your story that
Yeah.
you?
Sure. Real quickly, I was a new agent, and this was many, many years ago. And I remember I had to go outside to try to get a cell signal. And I called my broker because I saw something in the basement of this house when I was with some buyers in it, and I didn't recognize what it was. And I said, you know what? Let me get some more information on that, and I'll be right back. Because they pointed at this thing in the floor and said, "What's that?" So I ran outside. I called my broker, and I explained to her what it was, and she said, "What city are you in?" And based on the geography and what I had described to her, what I saw, she realized it was a lift station, which isn't all that common. But again, because of the geography, she knew that. And then she could explain it to me, and I could go back in and talk intellectually, to my clients. And I said one of my biggest stumbling blocks starting out was I didn't want to tell people I didn't know. So instead I'd say, you know what? I want to get a really good, thorough answer for you. So I'm going to step out and I'm going to get that, or I'll get back to you. I'll send you that answer in a few minutes. But it never hurts to say, I'm going to dig deep into this and I want to get you a real thorough answer. But, that saved me that day by being able to have access to my broker, or, again, if that could have been a mentor or a coach that I had that agreement with, that I could call them and they would pick up, because I needed that help right then on the spot. And like you said, Friday nights and Sunday mornings and all those times when we really need to get answers, and we need to have that support, which is, again, beyond our education and our experience, and sometimes a more formal situation. So
Yeah, I agree. And just keep in mind that there is a difference between formal training and support. So you're looking for that safety net, because once you feel like you have that safety net, that's when your career takes off, because you feel competent. You feel like you've got it covered in case you don't know the answer to the question. And then a mentor program, what you want to have is a structured mentor program where you make sure that you'll always have an agreement with that person in writing, but it also has structured time when you're going to get together. There's a difference between someone who says, well, you can tag along, and someone who's a mentor. So get the details on the mentor program. But ideally, you need to ask the question of the broker, who do I call when I have a quick question? Because you're going to have a lot of them, and that will make the difference for you.
Yeah, I agree. And also that's when your career really blossoms, when you start to put all those elements together. And Julie, you've shared some really wonderful strategies with us today, way more than the 5 we were shooting for. And we appreciate that so much. Again, our students who are currently in licensing can join these career mentor webinars, and it is to inspire them and get excited about their career ahead while they're trying to complete and wrapping up their education. And all the other tips you shared today, sincerely appreciate your time and all your efforts. You are absolutely committed and enthusiastic to helping experienced as well as new licensees. I'm going to put our slide back up here as we close today, and I'll leave it up for a minute or so. So again, people can get your contact information and follow up with questions with you. And then maybe you want to chat your phone number again into the chat.
I'll put it down. I see that you guys have a lot of questions. So if you want to email me, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Or if you want to text me, you can text me at this number. I'm happy to answer any of your questions, like what advice would you give for an agent renewing their license after 10 years? Those kind of questions might take a little more time. But I would say identify the niches that you want to work on, and start building that network of business-to-business referrals. Business-to-business network, because we always give a lot of referrals out, and it's valuable to be connected to us.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And there's reciprocity in our referral networks. You reminded me that earlier, that, you know, that we're giving out referrals and we build this network, but then they're referring us as well, which is a really nice reciprocity. And we benefit from that certainly too. So thank you again, Julie. I'm going to put our title slide back up here so they can see your contact information. We look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Michelle.
Here's the slide with Julie's information on it, and I'll leave it up here for those of you who would like to jot it down before we depart. We'll leave that for you.
If there's going to be a recording, and there is.
Yes, absolutely. These are all recorded. You will, by registering for this webinar, you will be sent that recording in about a week, and it will just come into your regular email where you received the first invitation to attend. And you will just go ahead and you can watch the recording at that time. You can share it with others. You can keep it and rewatch it as many times as you'd like. And we find that's very helpful as well, because sometimes we have to go back and refresh, and that might answer some of the questions that are in the chat too for those people who couldn't jot down all of Julie's great information today. So I want to say thank you again for joining us. And we're here once a month doing these real expert webinars, and they're always on Wednesdays, usually about the third Wednesday of the month. And we do all kinds of great, compelling topics with experts like Julie. And want to thank you all for joining us again today. And we look forward to seeing you in the future. Have a great day.
Bye.